The moment lasted less than a second. Alex Tiernan couldn't even be certain it had happened at all. Standing before his bathroom mirror at 7:42 a.m., toothbrush suspended mid-brush, he'd turned his head away to check the time on his phone. And that's when he saw it, or thought he saw it. His reflection hadn't turned with him. For the briefest flicker between moments, it had remained facing forward, eyes still locked on the mirror, while Alex himself had looked away. By the time his gaze snapped back, everything was normal again. His reflection stared back at him with the same wide-eyed confusion he felt, toothpaste foam dribbling down his chin in perfect synchronization. Had he imagined it? The thought crawled under his skin like an insect he couldn't locate. He rinsed, watching his reflection copy his movements with perfect precision, and tried to dismiss the incident. Just sleep deprivation playing tricks. The Anderson project had kept him up until 3 a.m. That was all. Just tired eyes and an overactive imagination. Nothing more. Alex finished his morning routine with meticulous attention, as he always did. At 37, he'd cultivated his habits into a science. The same breakfast. Steel-cut oats with precisely 6 blueberries and a tablespoon of honey. The same outfit selection process. Shirts organized by color gradient in his closet. Pants by fabric weight. Every element of his 11th floor apartment spoke to this ordered existence. The precisely arranged magazines on the coffee table. The color-coded bookshelf arranged by height and subject matter. The perfectly centered frames on his stark white walls. Being a freelance graphic designer allowed him this structured isolation. Some might call it sterile. He called it peace. But that morning, something felt askew. As he settled at his minimalist desk before his dual monitors, he noticed his coffee mug was on the left side instead of the right. He always placed it on the right. The realization sent a small tremor through his fingertips. Had he absent-mindedly switched the placement, or had he simply forgotten his own habits? He moved the mug back to its proper position and turned. His attention to work, but the incident with the mirror lingered like a paper cut, minor but persistently uncomfortable. By Wednesday, Alex was sleeping poorly. The mirror incident had spawned a new habit, checking his reflection whenever he passed a reflective surface, turning abruptly to see if he could catch it being independent. It was ridiculous, he knew. A scientific impossibility. But he couldn't shake the sensation that something was watching him from the other side of the glass. When his phone rang that afternoon, he nearly knocked it off the desk. "Alex? It's Diana from Prescott Media, just checking in on those banner designs." Her voice was cheerful, oblivious to the thread of anxiety pulling tighter around Alex's mind. "They're almost done," he said, rubbing his eyes. "I'll have them to you by tomorrow morning." "Great. Oh, and thanks for sending over those alternate color schemes yesterday. The team loved the blue palette." Alex's hand froze on the mouse. "Alternate color schemes?" "Yes, the ones you emailed around 2 a.m. I was surprised you were working so late, but they look fantastic." He swallowed hard. "Right. Those, glad you liked them." After hanging up, Alex opened his sent items folder. There it was, an email sent at 2:13 a.m. with an attachment containing color schemes he had no memory of creating. But they were unmistakably his work, his style, his techniques. He scrolled through them with growing unease. They were good, perhaps better than what he'd been consciously working on, but he had absolutely no recollection of making them. That night, he took a sleeping pill. It didn't help. He dreamed of standing before an endless wall of mirrors, each reflecting a slightly different version of himself. In some, he was smiling when he wasn't. In others, his eyes were closed when he was sure they were open. He woke at 3:17 a.m., drenched in sweat, convinced he'd heard someone moving in his apartment. Thursday morning brought a new disturbance. As Alex stepped into the elevator of his building, Mrs. Garza from the 9th floor greeted him warmly. "Feeling better today?" she asked, pressing the button for the lobby. Alex blinked. "I'm sorry. Yesterday in the elevator you looked terrible, said you were fighting a stomach bug." Her eyebrows knitted together. "You don't remember?" I was home all day yesterday, working." He hadn't left his apartment. He was absolutely certain of it. Mrs. Garza's smile faltered. Must have been someone else then, though I could have sworn... She trailed off, studying his face with newfound wariness. At the grocery store, his reliable Thursday routine, Alex noticed another oddity. The cashier greeted him with, "Back again so soon." He'd insisted he hadn't been there since the previous Thursday, but the young man had seemed certain, mentioning specific items Alex had apparently purchased just 2 days prior. Items that were indeed missing from Alex's pantry when he returned home, though he had no memory of buying or consuming them. That evening, Alex found himself standing before his bathroom mirror again, staring intently at his reflection. The face that looked back was his, familiar brown eyes now underlined with shadows, 3-day stubble darkening his jaw, hair slightly too long at the temples. Everything was as it should be, until he noticed the small mole near his left eyebrow. Alex had had that mole since childhood, but in the reflection, it appeared to be on the right eyebrow. "That's not how reflections work," he whispered to himself. "That's not possible." He raised his left hand. The reflection raised what should be its right, normal. But the mole was wrong. He touched it with his finger, watched the reflection do the same. Everything synchronized perfectly, except for this one impossible detail. Unless the mole had always been on his right eyebrow and his memory was faulty. He pulled out his phone, found an old Facebook photo from months ago. In it, the mole was clearly on his left eyebrow. Alex backed away from the mirror, heart pounding. He needed proof, tangible evidence that something was happening. That night, he set up his laptop camera to record himself sleeping, positioning it to capture both him and the decorative mirror on his bedroom wall. The footage showed nothing unusual, just Alex shifting occasionally in his sleep. At 3:17 a.m., there was a brief moment where the recording glitched, a common compression artifact. Nothing more. But as he re-watched it, focusing on the mirror, Alex noticed something. For a single frame during that glitch, while he was clearly asleep in bed, his reflection appeared to be sitting upright, looking directly at the camera. One frame, it could be anything. A technical error. His imagination filling in patterns where none existed. But the timestamp, 3:17 a.m., was exactly when he'd woken up the night before, convinced someone was in his apartment. Alex began documenting everything. He took photos of his reflection multiple times daily, comparing them obsessively. He kept a journal of his movements, making note of every time he left the apartment. He installed a small camera at his front door. The behavior was objectively paranoid, he knew that, but he couldn't stop. On Saturday, he ran into Mr. Ellis from 11C in the hallway. The elderly man gave him a concerned look. "You look tired this morning, Alex. Everything okay?" he asked, his voice gentle with genuine worry. Alex felt his mouth go dry. "This morning? I haven't left my apartment today." Mr. Ellis frowned. "Are you sure? I saw you waiting for the elevator around 7. You seemed distracted. Didn't even say hello when I greeted you." There was a long, uncomfortable silence before Alex managed to form words. "Must have been someone else." Mr. Ellis looked skeptical, but nodded. "Must have been." Back inside his apartment, Alex checked his door camera footage. Nothing showed anyone entering or leaving, but there was a strange 8-minute gap in the recording around 7 a.m. When the footage resumed, nothing appeared different. But Alex couldn't shake the certainty that someone, had left his apartment during those missing minutes. That night, sleep evaded him entirely. He sat at his kitchen table until dawn, staring at his laptop screen as it recorded an unchanging shot of his empty living room. The mirror on the wall reflected nothing unusual. Everything was still, normal. Until 4:23 a.m., when Alex got up to use the bathroom. He watched himself walk across the recording, enter the bathroom and close the door. 3 minutes later, he watched himself emerge and return to the kitchen table. Except Alex had no memory of doing this. He had sat at the table unmoving for hours, eyes fixed on the screen. With trembling hands, he played the footage again. There he was, clearly getting up, clearly walking to the bathroom. It was him, his pajamas, his gait, his face in profile as he passed under the hall light, but he had no recollection of it. None whatsoever. Sunday morning arrived with the dull grey light of a rainy Chicago day. Alex hadn't slept. His fingers felt numb as he made coffee, his movements mechanical. He needed to talk to someone. Anyone. The isolation of his carefully constructed life now seemed less like peace and more like vulnerability. He called his sister in Boston, but only reached her voicemail. He thought about calling his ex-wife, but couldn't bring himself to dial the number. What would he even say? That he suspected his reflection was becoming autonomous? That he was losing time? That he might be having a mental breakdown? Instead, he showed up unannounced at a walk-in, clinic 6 blocks away. The waiting room was mercifully quiet for a Sunday morning. When the nurse called him in, Alex struggled to articulate his concerns. "I'm not sleeping well," he began, which was true but vastly understated. "I think I might be experiencing some gaps in memory, maybe hallucinations." The nurse, her Namitag Red Sophia, took notes with a neutral expression. "Any history of mental health issues? Any recreational drug use? New medications?" Alex shook his head to all 3 questions. He wanted to tell her about the mirrors, about his reflections, subtle rebellion, but couldn't find words that wouldn't make him sound delusional. "It sounds like you're experiencing significant stress and sleep deprivation," she said finally. "That can cause perceptual disturbances. I'd recommend a sleep study and possibly talking with a therapist." She wrote down some referrals, which Alex folded neatly and placed in his wallet. He never called either number. By the time he returned to his apartment, rain was falling in earnest, drumming against his windows in an irregular rhythm that seemed deliberate, almost coded. Alex stood in his living room, suddenly aware of how many reflective surfaces surrounded him. The television screen, the glass covering his framed posters, the decorative mirror above the couch, the windows now turned into mirrors by the darkness outside and the lights within. He saw himself fractured across a dozen surfaces, each reflection slightly different due to angle and distance. Which one was real? Which one was truly him? The thought sent a chill through him. He turned off all the lights, except a small lamp, in the corner, reducing the reflective potential of his surroundings. Then he sat on his couch in the semi-darkness, phone in hand, debating who to call. His mind felt like it was splitting along a fault line. One part rational, recognizing the symptoms of sleep deprivation and possible mental health crisis. The other part convinced that something impossible was happening, something that defied rational explanation. At 11:42 p.m., his phone dinged with an email notification. A client responding to work Alex had apparently sent an hour ago, work he had no memory of completing or sending. He opened his laptop with shaking hands. There, it was in his sent items, a complete design package for the Johnson account not due for another week. The work was flawless, better than Alex thought himself capable of. "I'm not doing this," he whispered to the empty room. "I'm not the one doing this." He slept on the couch that night, or tried to. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined his reflection rising from the mirrors, moving freely about his apartment while he slept. At some point, exhaustion claimed him, dragging him into unconsciousness against his will. Monday morning. Alex woke with a jolt, sunlight streaming through blinds he didn't remember opening. His neck ached from the awkward position on the couch. For a moment, reality seemed normal again, just a man who'd fallen asleep on his sofa, after a rough weekend. Then he noticed the shower running in his bathroom. He froze, listening to the unmistakable sound of water hitting tile. His bathroom door was closed, a sliver of light visible beneath it. Alex lived alone, had always lived alone in this apartment. There was no possible explanation for someone using his shower. Except there was. One explanation so terrifying he could barely form the thought. With legs that felt disconnected from his body, Alex approached the bathroom door. Steam seeped from underneath, warming his bare feet on the cold floor. He placed his hand on the doorknob, hesitated, then turned it slowly. The bathroom was filled with steam, the mirror completely fogged over, except for a small circular area that had been deliberately wiped clear. Through that portal, Alex could see a figure behind the frosted glass shower door. His height, his build, washing methodically as water cascaded down. Alex couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely breathe. The shower shut off. A hand reached out, grabbed a towel hanging nearby. The frosted door slid open, and there he stood. Alex, perfectly identical. Same face, same body, same small mole above the left eyebrow. The copy looked at him without surprise, without alarm, merely mild interest, as if Alex were a moderately engaging television program. "You weren't supposed to wake up yet," the copy said, voice identical to Alex's own. "I miscalculated." Alex stumbled backward, knocking into the doorframe. What are you?" The copy smiled. A perfect replication of Alex's own smile, yet somehow wrong, like an actor who had studied the movement but couldn't replicate the genuine feeling behind it. "I'm you," the copy said simply, wrapping the towel around its waist. "Or rather, I'm becoming you, more effectively than I anticipated." Alex's back hit the hallway wall. "This isn't possible. I'm hallucinating. I'm having some kind of breakdown." "That would be simpler, wouldn't it?" the copy said, approaching slowly. "But you know that's not what's happening. You've seen the signs for days now. The mirror delays, the missing time, the work completed that you don't remember doing, the neighbors who saw you when you were elsewhere." Alex's legs gave out. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, looking up at his duplicate. "How? What are you?" The copy knelt down to eye level. Water dripped from its hair, his hair, onto the floor between them. "I've been watching you for a long time, Alex, from the other side, learning you, your patterns, your habits, your perfect, predictable, isolated life." The other side of what? The reflection. The copy's eyes, his eyes, seemed slightly too dark, too deep. "There's more space there than you realize, and it's so empty. I just wanted out, to experience, to exist." Alex's mind grasped desperately for rationality. "This is impossible. Reflections aren't real, they're just light." "And what are you but electrical impulses and chemicals?" the copy asked, tilting its head with genuine curiosity. "Consciousness is strange. Reality is stranger. I didn't think it would work either, until I managed to hold the reflection for that extra half second while you looked away. Then I knew it was possible, just difficult, requiring immense concentration." The copy stood, walked past Alex toward the bedroom. Alex remained frozen, watching as his duplicate selected clothes from his closet, his favorite jeans, his most comfortable sweater. "What happens now?" Alex finally managed to ask, voice barely above a whisper. The copy, dressed now, looking exactly like Alex on any normal day, smiled that not quite right smile again. "And now I live and you watch. Fair exchange, don't you think? All those years you lived while I could only observe from the other side. You can't just replace me. People will know, they'll notice." "Will they? Your neighbors already can't. Tell the difference. Your clients prefer my work to yours, and who else is there? Your sister who calls twice a year? Your ex-wife who's happily remarried? The barista who knows your coffee order but not your name?" The copy picked up Alex's wallet, his keys. "You designed the perfect life for replacement, Alex. Minimal connections, maximum isolation, no one to notice the subtle differences." Alex tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't cooperate. "I'll tell someone, I'll prove what? That your reflection came to life and stole your identity?" The copy laughed, Alex's laugh, but hollow, rehearsed. "That's a fast track to involuntary psychiatric commitment. Besides, I'm not cruel. You can stay here, watch, learn. Maybe someday figure out how to do what I did." The copy walked to the front door, then paused, turning back. "Oh, I should thank you for all the practice time you gave me. Every time you stared into a mirror, trying to catch me slipping up, you were actually helping me perfect my performance. The more you watched for inconsistencies, the better I got at eliminating them." Alex found his voice again, stronger this time. "What about me? What am I supposed to do?" The copy considered this, head tilted. "Watch. Wait. Try to understand. What happened, or don't. Convince yourself you're having a psychotic break if that's easier. It makes no difference to me now." It reached for the door, then stopped again. "One more thing." It walked back to Alex, knelt down and pressed something into his hand. a folded post-it note. Then it leaned close, whispered in his ear, "I left you a message. On the bathroom mirror. I think you'll find it illuminating." And then it was gone. The door closed with a soft click that somehow sounded more final than a slam. Alex remained on the floor, trembling, the note clutched in his hand. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Finally, he unfolded the paper. The handwriting was his own, but with a peculiar pressure and slant he'd never used. It read, "You can stop looking." "I see enough for both of us." Alex crawled to his feet, stumbled to the bathroom. The mirror had defogged, revealing his pale, terrified face. He stared at his reflection. Was it truly reflecting him now, or was it another autonomous entity waiting for its chance? How would he ever know? How could he trust any reflection ever again? He backed away slowly, then ran to the kitchen. He grabbed a hammer from the utility drawer and returned to the bathroom. With a choked cry, he swung it at the mirror. The glass shattered, fragments cascading into the sink like diamond rain. In each piece, his fractured face looked back at him, dozens of tiny Alexis, all wearing the same expression of horrified desperation. He moved through the apartment methodically, smashing every reflective surface he could find. The living room mirror, the glass in picture frames, the black screen of the television, the microwave door, even the stainless steel refrigerator, now dented beyond recognition. When he was done, Alex stood in the center of his destroyed apartment, breathing heavily. The hammer slipped from his fingers, thudding on the carpet. He hadn't solved anything. He'd only ensured he couldn't monitor what might be happening on the other side. That night, Alex huddled in the corner of his bedroom, eyes fixed on the door, unable to sleep. Every reflective shard had been swept up, every mirror covered or destroyed, but still he felt watched. Outside, the city lights glimmered. Somewhere, out there wearing his face, living his life, was a being that had stepped out of a reflection, an impossibility made flesh. Hours passed. Exhaustion clouded his thoughts. His eyelids grew heavy despite his terror. Just before sleep claimed him, Alex glanced at his phone screen lying beside him, the last reflective surface he'd allowed himself to keep. For an instant, he thought he saw movement that didn't match his own, a smile he wasn't making. In that moment of horrified clarity, Alex realized his mistake. He hadn't trapped his reflection on the other side by destroying his mirrors. He'd released them all. If this story held your attention until now, like the video and subscribe. The next one might be waiting for you right now. And there's one more waiting right there. Maybe it explains what was missing from this one. Maybe it makes everything worse. You listened, but not everything was told.